Merry Christmas, everybody. Back at it again here on the State of Football Part 105 edition here. We are live December 25th, 2020. Only a handful of shows left in the year 2020 here on the State of Football. Your new home for real football talk in the mornings. No days off. Can't stop, won't stop edition here. Ric Serritella, John Murphy, Big Law. Getting it on. Buckle up. It's a Christmas edition. Coming into your living room live. Tell a friend that it's them again. Come on in. Bring a friend. Kick off your shoes. Relax your feet. Party on down. You know what I'm talking about here on the State of Football. I can't wait to dive into a jam-packed show here and spend a little bit of our Christmas with you on this morning. Hopefully you got a chance to open some gifts and enjoy some family time. We're going to talk about the Heisman Trophy finalists that were unveiled. We also have some bowl games moving and grooving through the bowl game season. A couple head coach announcements at the collegiate level we'll discuss. And then we have the NFL. Oh, by the way, can the Saints clinch that playoff spot after falling to the Kansas City Chiefs last week? We'll discuss all that and more. And to do that here with us today, of course, like I said, Ric Serritella broadcasting live in New Jersey. We go down to New Orleans with the bounce pass, John Murphy. Good morning, Christmas to you there, sir.
Yeah, no doubt. And be a nice afternoon since it'll only be the people who live here.
You know,
if you're around for Thanksgiving, you know we're doubling down for Christmas.
Yeah, COVID is that convenient excuse not to see the in-laws, right? So if anything good came out of COVID, it would be that. And Big Law struggling with that issue, I think, as well this morning down there in Virginia. Big Law, a big shout out too, by the way. With your Christmas drive, doing big things in the community. We really appreciate you being here and also giving back to the kids here during the holiday season. How are you today? Take it off mute, man. Come on, what's this, your first rodeo? Take it off the mute. All right, Samantha, get Big Law's audio situated. We're going to have fun here around the horn. We still can't hear you. So let's get it worked out. A little technical difficulties on this Christmas Day edition, but we'll start off with the Heisman Trophy finalists being named here yesterday. And no surprise, 3 quarterbacks, Trevor Lawrence, Kyle Trask, Mac Jones. And then, they got a little bit they made it a little bit intriguing with Devonta Smith there of Alabama. In fact, first time in the history of Heisman voting that one team had 3 candidates in the top 5. The running back Harris, Najee Harris, I think, was 5th. But let's be honest, John, this is a quarterback award. Why are we just wasting Devonta Smith's time here? I mean, it's going to go to a quarterback, correct?
It seems that way, but then it makes you wonder, by having 3, is Alabama going to have 3 guys, but it's probably going to be, like 2 and 3. And it kind of makes you wonder now if Trevor Lawrence doesn't still win the Heisman. Because in the games he's played, in the games he's played, he's the best player. So now, do you hit him for the COVID games he didn't play? Well, we didn't hit Ohio State for that, right? Yeah. Ohio, we're not saying that you didn't play your whole schedule. You can't play for a championship. So why can't you say that he's, for sure, not the best player in terms of the games he played?
Well, to me, I mean, look, and I know it's a single season award, but here's the guy. I think he's 34-1 in his college career. I mean, 34-1. So you know what? I'm building that into my case for Trevor Lawrence. And if you look back, I think there was like 4 games in which he did not throw 300 yards. 2 of them, I think 2 of them was like 289 and 297. All right. So every game he threw for just about 300 yards. Every game except one, he threw for multiple touchdowns. And then you look over in the department where people don't pay much attention to Trevor Lawrence. I don't care about the 200 rushing yards, but he also ran for 7 touchdowns. So now, whatever his touchdown to interception ratio was, 24-3, 27-3, then you add in the 7 rushing touchdowns, and you say this guy's accounted for, probably 70%, maybe 90% of the Clemson offense, scoring-wise. To me, and I think there is something to it, like Mac Jones, Devonta Smith, they're going to steal the votes to each other. Kyle Trask is not even in the conversation as far as I'm concerned. I think we have Big Law back with the audio. Who is your favorite here, Big Law?
My Heisman favorite is Trevor Lawrence. It always has been. It always was. I've seen the guy play live quite a few times. He looks amazing. I tell a story about, I went to the Belk Bowl, the ACC championship game last year when UVA was there, and they played Clemson. And of course, being the media, in the press box, you get an opportunity to go under the stadium to to kind of see the players come in, to kind of greet the players, as they go to the locker room, as they jump off the buses. And when Trevor Lawrence got off the bus, I could have sworn he looked like a professional wrestler. I mean, he looks, he may look a little slim, when you see him on TV, the kid is jacked, and he's, but you think of like a Triple H, a young Triple H. That's what the kid looks like to me, And I said, and he was tall. I mean, huge. He was a giant. I'm like, this kid, just the eyeball contest, just eyeball test. I said, he has it. I said, and it's been that way from day one when he jumped on the scene and he totally showed out. Showed his skill set from an early stage, and it's just Trevor Lawrence is what it has to be. And going into play, and then also the redemption story. Him being sick and coming in and coming back, and that's the kind of the big story of the year is the best player in the college getting sick, team losing, coming back and winning, and then have an opportunity to play Alabama to keep the title. So it's Trevor Lawrence. So the Heisman is all about more than stats. It's about the stories. A lot of guys have won the Heisman based on stories too. So we can't forget about that. No matter how good you play on the field.
So 2 for Lawrence. John, are you going to make it unanimous here with Trevor Lawrence?
I think that's to me where this should be trending. And I'll say, I would bet that the reason Smith's in it is he finishes not 4. He's probably going to finish 2 or 3. And I think, that's to me why he's been.
Let me ask you it this way then. If it was between Mac Jones or Devonta Smith, who are you giving the vote to?
I would go Smith.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of times they base that
on me, like I thought Jalen Waddle was the better player when healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Like the first half of the season, Jalen Waddle was outplaying Devonta Smith, and Mac Jones has been that one consistent case. For me, I'm probably putting Lawrence like so far high of all these guys. And then it's Mac Jones, then it's Devonta Smith, and Kyle Trask. I don't even understand why he's getting the invite, and it's a virtual. Unfortunately, these guys don't get the free trip to New York City this year. But to me, I don't even understand why are we even having Kyle Trask here?
Who would be your other guy, Rick?
Well, I mean, they usually traditionally have 3 finalists, right?
Mm-hmm.
So to me, why not just get rid of Trask? If you wanted to bring another guy, I could argue that Kellen Mond over Kyle Trask, right? They won the they won the head-to-head. They finished higher in the rankings. So Mond had bigger wins. To me, I would put even Kellen Mond over Kyle Trask. I wouldn't even have either one of these guys invited to the dance, honestly. But I don't know. Any other final thoughts on the Heisman before we move on? It looks like a Trevor Lawrence runaway.
Yeah, it has to be.
All right, the state of football here. We're coming to you live, Christmas edition. There are a couple games in action yesterday. We had the New Mexico Bowl, Hawaii, taking care of business, winning by 2 touchdowns as a double-digit dog. John, I told you, keep an eye on this Calvin Turner. and you saw him. He makes plays running the ball. He makes plays catching the ball. I'm starting to think now he's going to at the very least, be invited into a camp and maybe as a return guy, have a year or two to see if you can develop him into some kind of backup role. But to me, he was the prospect who kind of stood out yesterday.
Yeah, kind of maybe in an all-purpose, type scenario, with him. I also thought that you at times you see some things out of Chevin Cordero that make you believe, not as a real draftable quarterback, but in terms of investing as a guy, late round PFA when his time comes, that there's some athleticism there. There's definitely the arm strength. It's just that he's inaccurate at times. He's kind of streaky. He can be hot and cold. With his accuracy, but he does do some things sometimes that you just can't teach. And I think he'll be on the radar, for some teams, there. And then, like I said, I will not be shocked if right after Christmas, after he lets his family open up some presents, Dana Holgorsen is going to jump right into the transfer portal, and if he doesn't jump in himself so that he can jump in and grab some of these guys and come back out, I think Houston will be very active in what has now become something I don't think we ever thought we'd be talking about, which is college football free agency. But yet here we are, college football free agency, aka the transfer portal. You just know that a program like this, after yesterday, will now be even more involved in that scenario than I thought they already would have been. And you're seeing guys, like I said, the backup quarterback at Oklahoma, already jumping to SMU, Charlie Brewer, already announcing, he's going to Utah. You're already seeing, some of these guys make, decisions on where they're going. And I believe there will be a lot of this in the landscape. Once we see who declares, we're then going to see who is their replacement, and it's going to be a lot of jersey jumping, going on there. But like I said, didn't think we would ever be saying that there'd be off-season coverage of, NCAA free agent frenzy, but here we go, NCAA free agent frenzy.
Yeah.
And Texas has that big money, so with the advent of players being able to get paid, that's coming down the pipe. All the people want to say, oh, it's not happening. Oh, it's coming. Okay, they're going to start paying players. That only exacerbates what we're talking about when these players are jumping and going to, oh, Alabama can pay me how much? Okay, it's full-blown free agency then. Because they're going to,
Are you saying, so you're saying that they're not doing that now? Is that what you're saying?
Look, I can never deny, or confirm any of it. I'm just saying, I'm still part of, the sports media, for some of these colleges. So I will never confirm nor deny. I'm still in press boxes right now for colleges, so I can't say nothing. And I'm not saying nothing. I'm just saying that now that it's legally coming down the pipe, we'll say that, all right, that free agency is definitely for college football. And like you said, aka the transfer portal is on the rise and it's coming. And like I said, Alabama, the Ohio States, who can pay a gang of money to whoever above board, above the table, coming. We'll see how it all shakes out. But yeah, transfer portal is alive and doing well.
We've been talking about it as a staff internally because, usually this time of year we're tracking the underclassmen. Now we've got to also track the opt-out or the transfer portal. And John mentioned Charlie Brewer. I saw he had entered the transfer portal. I haven't been able to keep up to see that he chose Utah. So I guess Jake Bentley is declaring for the draft if he's even a prospect because that transfer didn't work out. So Utah moving on now to Charlie Brewer. But man, it's college football free agent frenzy. And again, the transfer portal, over 800 players and counting. I mean, by the time we hit the air on Monday, there's probably going to be over 1,000 players in that transfer portal. Unbelievable. And I think it's really a change in philosophy for how you recruit, too, if you're a head coach.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And a lot of players with an extra year. So, you think about that element of saying, hey, man, I got an extra year, coach. What you can do for me? You know?
Yeah, that's for sure something that we'll continue to talk about here on the State of Football. Coming at you live, broadcasting around the universe here today on Christmas Day, December 25th, 2020. Just 1 week left of the year, and we're breaking it down here. Today, by the way, there is more bowl game season festivities, the Camellia Bowl, Marshall at Buffalo, and I think Marshall's 7-2, Buffalo's 5-1, but I think Buffalo is going to run away with this one, literally. If and you get all these last second announcements, who's playing, who's not playing, but if Buffalo has the whole army, and I mean Jarrett Patterson, Antonio Nunn, Malcolm Kuntz, the offensive linemen, I think they can run away with this game. Marshall, Grant Wells, the freshman quarterback, has had a phenomenal season. But I think the Bulls are just too loaded, too stacked, too experienced, and they some hungry Bulls, Big Law. I don't know about you. I've got Buffalo here.
Well, being that I'm so close to West Virginia, I'm going to have to go with the Thunder and Herd. Okay, I think that, they had a lot of steam in the beginning of the year, but, it did slow down as far as what they were able to do and what they were able to accomplish this year. Actually, it was a little bit of a surprise, for them to come out and win that many games and to win that many games in a row. And a lot of people weren't expecting that team to do that well. But I'm gonna go for Marshall. I'm gonna pull for Marshall, and I'm just looking forward to seeing how this bowl shakes out as well. In between, opening presents and everything else that goes on in today.
Yeah, you're such a homer. I will say this game has the makings of an over. That's for sure. We'll go to John Murphy for the tiebreaker. Who do you got, Marshall or Buffalo today?
Yeah, I think this will show you who has stayed more engaged right down the stretch here, where it's the end of your season. You got your bowl game, but then you're getting to go home, or you're at least getting out of this bubble and scenario that you've been in. As a club, Buffalo ran the streak all the way to Ball State, and then that was the end of that. So how does that part of it play out with these two teams? But I thought what you liked last week, in that last game with Buffalo, is the quarterback started to show that outside of the running game, hey, I'm not just an afterthought. And I thought that gave Buffalo a little different looking offense when they were able to throw the ball and make some plays down the field throwing the ball. So to me, it's which one of these two clubs has a more diversified offense in this game. Because at times Marshall, when they've really done well, have been able to run for $150 and had Grant Wells, be a very accurate, prolific passer in their scheme. I think Buffalo has more to play for. I think that in this game, you have the two options at the backfield. And like I said, what they did in that last game, I like them up front too. Marshall has an underrated O-line. Buffalo plays very well cohesively together as a unit up front. I think we're both getting into around the 30s, Buffalo 34-28.
Yeah, sounds about right to me. And yeah, you forget about they got two running backs there in the Buffalo backfield. Kevin Marks, in addition, I think they may have both came close to over 1,000 yards. So we'll have some bowl game festivities on the docket for today. Quickly here, before we shift gears to the NFL level, a couple head coaching announcements. I am, by the way, broadcasting live from my mom's house in East Hanover, New Jersey, which is, oh, by the way, the hometown of Jeb Fish. Shout out to the Hanover Park Hornets, baby. He gets the Arizona head coaching job, making us proud here in East Hanover, New Jersey. The Hornets are alive and singing here on this Christmas day. And Jeb Fish, of course, spending a couple years with the Patriots. I think he was hanging around with the Rams. He now takes over for Kevin Sumlin in Arizona. And then how about Terry Bowden resurfaces down there in your neck of the woods, John? Louisiana Monroe brings Bowden out of semi-retirement. He was actually a GA. Believe it or not, I had no idea he was on Dabo Swinney's staff last 2 years down in Clemson getting his master's degree there. And of course, he spent about 7 seasons or so at Akron, and now he back at the head coaching ranks. He's got to be pushing 70, but he now takes over a Louisiana Monroe program down there, which is surrounded by a hotbed of talent, John.
Yeah, and you just have to look at what everybody else in the state is doing. Tulane going to a bowl game. I think that was their third year in a row going to a bowl game. Louisiana University is playing as good a football now as they've ever played, in their history. Louisiana Tech, yearly in a bowl game. We mentioned yesterday wasn't their best performance, but I'm going to give the COVID got the W there. So did Georgia Southern, and it was well earned for how Georgia Southern played. But, kind of the end of the year and the injuries that they had, La Tech really had no business playing in that bowl game with what was on that roster in terms of in that game. So now you look, and you're the lone wolf out there, in terms of how you're performing on the football field. And there's absolutely no reason for it. UL Monroe, just Monroe, West Monroe, turns out as many or more offense, O-line, D-line type prospects to the state and to other places as any school in the country. You have a lot of opportunity to recruit there, which I think the Bowden name will do. To me, I think that's a bad hire. It's not because he's 62. It's not because none of us knew what he was doing. It's because there are so many young, legitimate coaches in the area that can recruit. You interviewed the OC at Memphis. You had Matt Kubik, who was there, who was coached there and played in the state. Has just nothing to do with Terry Bowden. Has everything to do with the AD there, Scott McDonald. Couldn't find his if he sat on it and got 2 arrows pointing at it. It's just that's you're trying to do something that's 20 years behind you, and you're trying to resurface here. Then you're going to hire a guy that's not been in that road and not been in that seat in a significant period of time. What's going to follow, right? What's going to follow is the Anthony Lynn coaching tree of doing business, which is this is going to be the give back opportunity. You're going to end up with a bunch of guys who already have had jobs and are kind of past that part of their careers. And as a university, when you're in that situation that they are in and you need to rebuild grassroots from the ground up, you need guys that are going to hit the pavement running. You're going to need grassroots recruiters, and you're going to need to turn some guys that are 2- and 3-star players into 4- and 5-star players, at your university. To me, it's nice to say that that's who you're hired and you're bringing a winning pedigree. Yeah, you're bringing a winning pedigree from 1987. Give me a break.
It's been a long time since that undefeated Auburn national championship, and
again, Damian Craig. You want some names? Damian Craig. You know what I mean? Like look at Texas A&M. Look at some of these younger coaches, that are doing big things. I think, and again, I've mentioned his name several times, and he maybe it's a year or a couple of years early. David Johnson, the running back coach down at Florida State, from the state, played at Nichols, and then is coached at Tennessee, as a receiver coach, now Florida State as a running back coach. Yeah, I think you have a lot of opportunity, to hire good people. And you look at what McNeese did hiring Frank Wilson last year with all his ties to the state. Yeah, there's a reason that program was 0-10, and the next time we're looking at why they're at that where they're at, send all your emails and direct messages to Scott Donald, their athletic director, because if you want to know why that program is in the tank, you need to look no further than that seat right there.
Well, it sounds like John's not excited about the Terry Bowden hire, and will Frank Zolich be far behind as the DC?
Oh, yeah, Bo Pelini's available.
Yeah, Bo Pelini might resurface there. He might not have to sell his new house after all. So a couple head coaching hires there. Of course, Jeb Fish beating out the San Jose State football coach for that Arizona job, and then San Jose State then turning around and giving that coach an extension there, very well warranted.
Jeff Fish will be another one who will be
The hot
right
commodity.
after the presents are open. Transfer portal, here I come. Because
Well, I do know Nick Starkel is coming back for another season there. Derek Deese, the tight end, as well, is returning. They're going to lose the wide receivers, Trey Walker and Bailey Gaither. But you know, I went into San Jose State last year, and the culture that they've created there is.
Yeah, it's a great. If you have ever gone to watch a game there, what they really have is that like Thursday or Friday night, and then even a Saturday, game. You have a fan base there that is more active than people would imagine. Especially when they're good. Especially when they're good. And I think they get a very good support from their alumni, and they're doing things the right way. Oh, hey, by the way, ULM, if you want to check out how to do it the right way, there it is. Because, I mean, can you remember what San Jose State, every year you would get your college football magazine, and you could turn all the way to the back. San Jose State would be 102, 103, right? 98. Like, they would be just god-awful.
Rice,
in terms of the rankings, in the country, and they have really turned that program around to where it will not be surprising, for them to be in the mix and not just a one-year wonder. But I'm saying in Arizona, the amount of kids that have been lost and the recruiting part, that's where Jed Fish is really going to have to make his bones here. And it'll be interesting because he has a very good relationship with the athletic director there. How much of the resources, right? We mentioned that is a big part of college football when you're hiring and firing people. What kind of resources? Look and see in the coming weeks who gets hired at Arizona on that staff. And that's how you'll know what kind of direction, that they're going, right? If you want to know how much LSU wants to give Ed Orgeron a chance to rebuild and reload, look what they're doing in a COVID timeframe of losing money, but having the willingness, to give, the offensive coordinator a retirement package and let multiple defensive coaches go, that's going to cost a pretty penny, but they'd rather spend it now than have another, mid-level or losing type season. So, that's what you really have to look into is these jobs when they're hiring folks. Don't just look at who the head coach is that gets hired. Look at some of those staff members. Go look who the recruiting coordinator is and what that guy's past history, is it a success rate in that area? Because you look at Arizona, losing Grant Gunnell, maybe Jed Fish can go in there and re-recruit him back. But most likely, as a New England quarterback coach and a guy that coached in the NFL offensively with the Rams, don't be surprised if Arizona is not one of those destinations that goes and finds their own Nick Starkel.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and Gunnell, I think, is already announced he's going to Memphis. But, just stay in Arizona State is built with Herm Edwards. And you mentioned, who did he hire? Marvin Lewis, Antonio Pierce. I think they got the former NFL wide receiver on the staff. So that's what you're recruiting against. And to John's point, who he hires is really going to dictate and determine their success there. Also, one shout out to Fred Gaudici over at San Jose State, my Jersey paisan over there, with the Italian food, restaurant recommendations when I was out in San Jose State, special teams coach, and of course liaison. So we got to give my guy Freddie Ballgame over there a little shout out. All right, now tomorrow is the NFL Draft Tailgate Show. Big Law will be in the saddle there with John. And, of course, Ryan Roberts and David Turner, like we do each and every Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern. We'll dive into some of the college football games on the docket, a deeper dive tomorrow. But there is one that we are going to discuss today. And since you're down that neck of the woods, Big Law, this Mortgage Care Bowl game, Liberty versus Coastal Carolina, this is a very underrated bowl game matchup here.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Now, if you remember, you called me a homer before, all right, early in this episode. Now, I'm not going to be a homer for this because I'm going to stick with my chickens, okay? The Chanticleers have proven me right all season. And here we go again, John. Here we go again with the chickens. And I'm telling you, it's gonna and it's a redo, okay? A rebrand, and it's a bowl game. This is, and this would have been a bowl game that I would have went to in Orlando. Quick 2-hour flight down there, checking it out. You got Liberty and the Chanticleers going at it, because remember, this team was supposed to play each other. All right, and then the COVID thing happened, and now the Christians against the Mullets is about to go down, brother. All right, and I'm totally in on this game 100%. Noon tomorrow is gonna be on. All right, so as soon as we're done with the broadcast, I'm jumping on, getting ready for that, because I want to see this game. And I think a lot of the players and the coaches, they really wanted to play that game as well. There's a lot of trash being talked, a little bit, and the Chanticleers, want to continue to show that it was not a fluke. BYU was not, was a team that was ready to be had, and they took them. And they want to show Liberty as well as another team that is trying to prove that they are not they're not to be taken as well by the Chanticleers. But the Chanticleers, 11-0, all right, coming in trying to go 12-0 in a bowl game. I'm looking. This is awesome. I just love it. But I gotta say, up here, in Hampton Roads and in the state of Virginia, of course, Liberty is has done a great job of turning the program around with Hugh Freeze, bringing a little bit of that Southern SEC flavor up here, but and doing a good job in bringing in transfers and recruits. But I got to tell you, I'm going to pull for the Chanticleers, even though it is a state school, and we'll see. We'll see how it runs, man.
Big Law is the conductor. Is Murphy hopping on the train that is Coach? Whoa.
I'll tell you what, we couldn't find a reason why Kyle Trask has made the virtual list of guys for the Heisman, but I want to tell you, a guy that should finish in the top 10, at least get a vote from somebody, is Malik Willis. Malik Willis should at least get a vote somewhere. I don't care what number you want to give him. Just give him a vote just so we could talk about it. And I think, hey, you know what? The first time didn't work. The Mormons couldn't get it done, so they'll send the Christians in to go take care of it. And I got a feeling Malik Willis and the Liberty Flames will be eating some Yardbird nuggets.
Yeah,
here we go
on Saturday.
You're gonna sound the horns, huh?
Ain't no horns there. Liberty's 9-1. Coastal who you beat? BYU? You beat the Mormons?
They're a touchdown favorite, though.
You beat the Mormons?
Yeah.
You beat the Mormons?
Yeah.
I mean, is that what we're bringing to the table? BYU? You had to settle for beating BYU because Liberty couldn't play. This isn't Florida State. They didn't back out because they didn't want to take the, you know what, from Clemson.
Oh my goodness! So okay.
I got Liberty and Malik Willis shutting it down. Myrtle Beach will be shut down.
Well,
oh man,
I'll tell you, no love for the Chanticleers here.
Hey, just in
case
you're local, you heard that he going out of state. Big Law going out of state on you. He gotten too big. He gotten too big now. He picking outside the state. You heard that, Liberty.
That's right. That's right.
Well, he thanking baby Jesus on Christmas, but then he's voting against the Christians tomorrow. See how that goes. You may still have some coal in that stock in there, picking against the Liberty Flames. But in all seriousness, this is a great idea. Number one, a great idea by the bowl game. Number two, great idea by these two teams to not say, well, let's both of us go our separate ways, play some buster in a bowl game that we don't have to risk our season over. I think this is great for college football, and it's great for two programs to hit the reset button and say, hey, you know what? Let's double down and still get this game done, because it could have been easy for them to have taken a different route. But hats off. Whoever is putting that bowl together, gets an A+ for a matchup, because there will not be a better matchup prior to the January games. And there's only one or two January games.
Yeah.
On the money.
Matchup on paper than this game right here, in terms of you want to watch a game and you want to think that you're going into it, you're going to get your money's worth. You know, Malik Willis and what they've done offensively versus what the Chanticleers showed you against BYU. Yeah, this is a really good, you know, opportunity for both of these clubs. And I think the biggest winner beside the fans is the non-power conference teams. The more games like this that you can put on, the more it's going to make somebody ask that question, that if he's right, if Big Law's right, and he's on a good little groove here, he's been winning these ones the last couple of weeks. So if he's right, a 12-0 Chanticleer team might be able to call down to Central Florida and ask them where they bought their trophy a couple years ago. Because you could claim to be the champion of the yard. Might just say, hey, we're over here. You know, the winner of Alabama against Clemson in a couple of weeks, we're over here if you want to play a 15th game.
Yeah, man. Great place to visit, too, with the being out there in Myrtle Beach.
Oh, yeah.
Blue turf. Let's go, you know?
Well, I think this is a game. It's must view. You know, this is appointment viewing TV, and I think it's a coin toss game. You know, one day I wake up thinking Liberty's going to win. The next day I wake up thinking Coastal Carolina's going to win. Here's one thing I'm hoping for: that I can get back on the scouting trails next year and make it down to Lynchburg to see this Malik Willis, who's got another year of eligibility, and hopefully I get to link up with Big Law. But you take a look at the season this kid has put together. Over 2,000 yards passing, over 800 yards rushing, 30 total touchdowns, and just 4 interceptions. Okay, coming over from Auburn, SEC, you know, big-time pedigree. This is like, you know, this is a quarterback that I must go see. And so hopefully, you know, it's funny. I had a sleepless night, and I went down the rabbit hole of Twitter and this new strain of COVID over in UK and I think South Africa now. This new strain that's saying that, hey, maybe the
shot,
maybe the shot won't cover this new strain of COVID. So we'll see. But I'm really hoping and praying that we can hit the scouting trails on the 2021 scene. Hey, it's the state of football here. Ric Serritella, John Murphy, Big Law, Lawrence Johnson, 7 City Shop Talk, of course, Woo World Radio. Are you broadcasting later tonight?
Actually, it will be on tonight from 6 to 7 on the app. I recorded yesterday, and that way the fans will still be able to hear me on a Christmas evening in front of the fireplace with their cocoa and their with their toes up. And be able to listen to me on my Woo Radio app. And it's a pretty interesting episode as well, because we're talking about sports, but then we kind of veer off into a really important subject that a lot of minority men and a lot of just men in general, you know, should look out for. We have a special guest on that show, so that's what we're doing.
All right. Can we say who the special guest is, or are we leaving?
It's a guy we grew up with, a guy named Cephas Boyd. Is our special guest, and you know, he's going to talk a little bit about life and about some of the things that he's going through in his life's journey, and it's a pretty powerful episode.
All right, there you go. So right after that Buffalo Marshall game, download the app Woo World Radio. You get Big Law in the morning. You get Big Law in prime time. Hey, I'm all for more Big Law, and you'll get Big Law tomorrow on the NFL Draft Tailgate.
Yeah.
So,
that's right.
Big things that Big Law is doing. So we appreciate again all the stuff that you're doing, and especially in the community there, giving back. And what was the latest update with the toy drive? Were you able to get off all the toys, and how did it go, Big Law?
I got most of the toys out. And we had some left over. You know, it was such a great turnout. We appreciate everybody who helped contribute, but it's continuing. You know, we were giving toys out from this Saturday up until yesterday. So, you know, I was just going and I was actually traveling to parents' houses to give toys to kids. You know, I was going to go pick my father up from the hotel he's staying at, and there was a family that was there. You know, you could tell that they were struggling a little bit, and I asked, told the little girl to come on over. I said, asked the parent. I said, "Do you have Christmas secure yet?" She said, "No." I said, "Hey, come on to the back of the truck." So opened up the back of my truck, took out the bags, and we gave about 4 or 5 tours right there. So I've been doing that as well. Where if I stop, get some gas, or I'll be somewhere and I'll see some kids, or I'll see a parent with a child, or whatever. Say how about this? Just come on to the back, and I got some toys for you. Come get something. So yeah, it's kind of been that way.
Awesome. Good stuff there. This is the State of Football, brought to you by NFLDraftBible.com. I see our guy Jack Despereaux in the chat room. So Merry Christmas to you, Jack, and I appreciate everything you're doing with the live streams too. I tuned into the show with Alec Polito and Lorenz, and you guys kind of made my day. Not just because you had Christmas hats on, not just because Lorenz brought back the block letters, but man, the light up shirt to go with the block letters. Hey, give me some more. I'm all in on that show, and those guys are now airing, I think, three times a week. And right after the State of Football. So stay tuned for announcements there. Again, at NFL Draft Bible, we have partnered with the Dynasty Draft Room. The Camellia has grown. We've got a mega major announcement. If you tuned in earlier in the week, I told you I signed the biggest contract in NFL Draft Bible history. And next week, I'm excited to finally be able to bring that news to you. It's been 20 years in the making. And all I can tell you, ESPN, NFL Network, all you mainstream media cats, watch out now. Watch out now. Okay? Because we're not just
Coming
in your
for
town. We're not just in your city. We're not just on your block. We're taking over the whole street, baby. So stay tuned for that. I'm excited about it. I can't wait to bring that news to all you guys next week. Of course, NFLDraftBible.com. And, we will illustrate that announcement for you soon. All right. We got a few minutes left here. We'll try to get to as many games as we can on the Sunday docket. We might go a little OT, guys. Maybe, take it to 10 after the hour. But, hey, we've got Christmas Day action. Minnesota at New Orleans. The Vikings falling to the Bears last week. The Saints falling to the Chiefs last week. This is a meaningless game for the Vikings. However, if the Saints can pull this one out, John, they will clinch the NFC South.
Yeah, and not only that, here's the team that's, knocked you out of the playoffs 2 out of the last 3 years. And we know how those games have gone at the end of the games. The other thing is, this is your week in terms of you control your destiny to get into playoffs. And then you have the Titans who have a really good shot against Green Bay. So you could end up being in a flat tie going into next week, if you handle your business. Now, here's a couple of concerning things. Back-to-back weeks giving up over 150 yards rushing. That's a problem when you're facing Dalvin Cook. On the flip side, Kirk Cousins has struggled mightily against teams that bring pressure. And if we know anything, the one thing the Saints have done successfully, even in the last 2 weeks in their losses, is bring pressure. And so that will be interesting to see how Kirk Cousins and the offense for Minnesota, do they try to stick with the ground game because it's worked so effectively against the Saints in recent weeks? You have Thielen and Justin Jefferson on the outside. That could give the Saints some trouble. But if you're going to stand in there and try to throw it 35-plus times, we could see the turnovers and some of the things that have affected the Vikings in recent weeks. Saints, you're playing now with Drew Brees in week 2, back from the injury. You protected him pretty well, except for the one shot I think he took from the DB. It'll be interesting again. Do the Vikings send extra blitzers, trying to get him off point, trying to get him off rhythm? Emmanuel Sanders becomes more of a focal point, this week. You got to do a much better job of getting Jared Cook involved early. And then I think the missing link here is you got to use Latavius Murray and Kamara kind of in tune back and forth with each other. And then also at times with both of them on the field where Kamara can then go outside to receiver, do some of the different things that they were doing early with him, and try to get that offense back in a rhythm that it has not been in. There was no rhythm with Taysom Hill against the Eagles. There was absolutely no rhythm at times, last week. You saw some flashes down the stretch. but you don't see games where Drew Brees misses 6 passes in a game. And there were 2 times last week where he had 5 incompletions or more in a row. So I think a bounce back effort defensively holds the Vikings in check, and they do enough offensively to get the win at home. And then it becomes watching the Packers. Let's see what happens, when the Packers play the Titans, because that is a game that I think is at least a little bit of siren that you could be hearing, for the Packers. It's not fully on, but it's at least there. It's at least the lights moving. Maybe the siren's not working just yet, but the light's a little on, because that's what they've struggled with, is that play action and a team that's running the ball downhill against the Packers. That has given them trouble, and the Titans have the right mix there, to where if the Saints handle their business, and you would think third game in a row, losing back-to-back at home, and this is a non-playoff team, but a team that you really know what they can do to you because it's bitten you in the butt 2 out of 3 years in the playoffs. I have a close game, but I think Saints win.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you there. And for those of you wondering at home, they'll win the division. Will Drew Brees get a week to rest next week? No, because they're still in the mix. Remember, there's 7 playoff teams in each conference, so only 1 first-round bye this week.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned the Packers; they gotta face the Titans this week. If they lose that game, the Saints and Seahawks both 10-4, the Packers 11-3. You could have a 3-team race in the NFC next week for that first-round bye. So something to keep an eye on there. I know something that I'm keeping an eye on here on Sunday in Jersey to see if we can have some kind of playoff football here in the Garden State. And you'll be paying attention as well down there in the Baltimore area, Big Law. This is the Giants at the Ravens. We're hearing Daniel Jones is going to get the start. Actually tells me, I think Colt McCoy gives this team a better chance to win. That tells me, I think that I hate to say it, and I hope I'm wrong, but this smells like, looks like, and I can even taste it, a blowout.
Yeah, it definitely could be a blowout. But let me jump back on what John was, or the game you guys were just talking about. How about the NFL being as greedy as they are, grabbing time from a typical NBA holiday? Typically, this is an NBA. They play basketball games all day. How about the NBA? The NFL jumping in and saying, hey, I want some of that cake too. I want a piece of that pumpkin pie. All right? Let me jump on in here and get some of this. NBA's pissed. But yes, let's jump back onto the
Wait, is it regular season yet for the NBA?
Yeah.
Yes, just tipped off. Yep, okay. Tipped off on the 22nd, and this is usually their big day where they really take off. And the NFL was like, let me get some of that over there. That honey baked ham, baby. So let's jump back in with the Giants and the Ravens. So yes, I will be paying attention to this. I mean, from what I heard last about Daniel Jones is the hamstring injury. Usually it sounded like it was more than just a little pull. It seemed like it was like a 2 or 3 week issue, being that it happened a couple weeks ago. So I guess him coming back so soon, naturally being in desperation, you want to try to win the division. Washington right now leads the division, and with the Giants' loss and a Washington win, the Washington football team wins the division. So I understand the desperation, but you're playing against a Ravens team, which I really think is starting to hit their stride. Lamar Jackson played pretty much one of the most epic games in his career against the Browns. And if you didn't see it, it was, in my opinion, one of the best games 3 years in about last 3 years. He does his Willis Reed act. He goes into the locker room at halftime, comes back later, and then he winds up winning the game, throws the game-winning touchdown, and also puts on his show for all of us viewers to see. So I don't see the Ravens slowing down. I think the Ravens are going to really blow them out, like you were saying. I just don't see the Giants having enough firepower, to keep up with that defense. From what they can muster. But right now, the Ravens know that they need to keep up. They're trying to make the playoffs. And they're hoping for some losses from the Steelers, from the Colts. The Steelers and Colts play each other, but they need the Colts or the Steelers or even the Browns to lose so they can jump back in there to try to secure one of these playoff spots.
Yeah, I'll tell you. I mean, you saw Daniel Jones try to get back in the saddle, and he wasn't healthy a couple weeks ago. It was disastrous. And, I think this could be another disaster. In fact, again, I liked what I saw from Colt McCoy. I just wonder what Joe Judge sees differently. And he's got his finger on the pulse better than I do. But just based on performance on Sundays, what I see from Colt McCoy is a more effective offense than what I'm seeing out of Daniel Jones. We'll see. But your season's on the line here. The health of – and you're hearing now Gettleman and Jones are both coming back.
Mobility. I think they love Colts mobility. I think that's probably something, that what you're thinking about is the Colts mobility gives them, I think, a better chance to win. Daniel Jones with the bum hamstring, these Ravens are going to get after you, and I don't know if he's going to be able to get out of the way. Of course, whenever he's been strictly mobile, he's a sitting duck. Now he gets when he does his zone reads and he kind of can get outside the pocket, the kid can make some plays. But with the bum hamstring, I don't know how much of that he can do.
Yeah, we shall see. But the Giants still fighting and clawing, trying to keep up with the Washington football team and the Dallas Cowboys in that NFC least. Here's a game that is really appealing to me. The Colts traveling into Pittsburgh, John, just a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about would this team run the table. Now we're wondering if the Steelers can just hold on and stay alive here. Suddenly, they're in danger of losing 4 straight games here, and the Colts are playing good football. I wouldn't be surprised if the Colts pull this one out.
Yeah, and I think where the Colts are playing good football is in the areas that we mentioned. A couple of times this year, the Colts have been on the verge, right, like they are here in this situation. Right, they had those couple of losses early, and they got right back in there, and then they've had a couple of times here where they could establish themselves as maybe it's them or Buffalo, like they're right there to be the number one team that could give the Kansas City Chiefs, a run for their money in a playoff game. And I think what you're seeing out of them, in terms of the way they played defensively, the way they have now generated a rushing attack, and a 2-prong rushing attack with Nyheim Hines and now Jonathan Taylor hitting full stride the second half of the season. This is really, to me, a real opportunity for the Colts the Colts win here. Now you have the tiebreaker. And if you don't win the division with the Titans, you're likely to get a home game kind of 4-5, can you better yourself, in the rankings here, in terms of things. And then if you're the Colts, you're hoping for the opposite scenario of the Saints, which is Colts win, they go to 11-4, Titans play the Packers beat the Titans. You now control a chance to win the division. I like what I'm seeing out of the Colts across the board. And I still think the factor that the Steelers have never gotten a run game going. Their vertical passing game has disappeared. The offensive line has struggled. And now you're not getting the cumulative pass rush that they had earlier. And you're going against a Colt offensive line that is one of the better units in the league. I think I got, the Colts winning this one. And the Steelers, I think, are very much in that scenario of this isn't a gimme matchup. And I think they kind of needed a gimme matchup, sort of here where the first loss then got compounded by the second one, and they haven't gotten the traction back. And, when you didn't get it back against, when you lost it to the Redskins, and then when you got the next team that you were better than on paper in the Bengals and you didn't get it there, trying to get your traction back against a Colts team that might be equal or better than you on paper, I think it's going to be something very, very difficult to do. And where I expect the struggle to continue is surprisingly on the offensive side of the ball. And that's, to me, where the issue is right now, is that I don't see them outscoring the Colts, even in a lower scoring affair. I think the Colts are more prepared now, for this type of late season playoff implication matchup. I think the Colts are in a much better situation. Their run game, their O-line, and their defense, I think the Colts are check marks in all three of those areas.
Yeah, and don't forget the Ravens, if they win out, they can go 11-5. Suddenly, here's what's wild in the AFC. So if the Colts beat the Steelers, they'll both be 11-4, right? And then you have the Titans and Browns could also be 11-4 with wins. And then you have the Bills, who are at 11-3. I don't think they can catch the Chiefs for that first round bye. Do they rest guys this week? Do they go 11-4? You could have a 5-way tie for the second seed heading into the final week of the season. That would be wild. And I think the Colts are going to win this game. And suddenly, either the Ravens or Dolphins are going to creep back into the mix there and make that final seed. The AFC, I mean, I know the Chiefs are the favorite, but who makes it there? I know the Bills look like the team to beat, but now don't forget, you've got 2 weeks of lackadaisical football. I hate that. I hate when you wrap things up and you got now basically 2 off weeks where you're not fighting for your life and you run into one of these teams that are scrapping and clawing every week. To me, that's always been a recipe for disaster. We're winding down here. We'll do 2 more quick games and wrap things up. Big Law, I know you got your finger on the pulse with those Washington football team there, still in the hunt, still in the lead, I think, in that NFC East. And, Carolina, they've kind of lost their way here in the second half. But say what you want, Matt Rule's team always comes prepared, always comes competitive. And, it's in Carolina. So how do you kind of see this one shaking out?
Well, the way I see this shaking out is this is the Ron Rivera against David Tepper Bowl. All right, Ron Rivera gets to go back after being fired last year, gets to go back in and prove a point with the team that was destitute, that was pretty much considered the worst franchise and worst owner, in all of football, all professional football. So Ron Rivera said, hey, look, I turned this team around and I could have done the same thing with you guys or kept us at a level that was respectable. Now, we'll give Carolina this. Them picking up Teddy Bridgewater, getting rid of Mr. Newton, and having Cam out of there, that was a really smart move. And also, they have 2 1,000-yard receivers, which is something that was something, you really didn't think that Teddy Bridgewater could really have 2 receivers that had 1,000 yards. He's actually throwing the ball. I want to say he's one of the leaders in the NFL in air yards, meaning the ball from his hands to a receiver's hands, in the air getting the most yards. He's one of the best in the league. I just don't see Carolina closing this game out, and that's what their issue has been the whole season. I think they're 0-8, when it comes to like a score, the game being a score apart. And with Washington's defense ready to step back up and do the job, Chase Young was just voted to the Pro Bowl. The young man's an animal. It kind of shows you that there are some real football people actually making some decisions on that Pro Bowl. He didn't have a lot of stats, but the impact, they call it unlocking the defense. And that's what he did for this Washington team. Remember, if he's doubled, everybody else is singled. All right? Somebody else needs to make a play. All right? That's just my coaching days. I got to tell y'all that. So, he does that for them. Sometimes he gets triple teamed. So somebody's free. So I'm looking forward to this. Carolina and Washington, the Tepper Bowl and the Ron Rivera Bowl. I'm just excited to see, and they can lock it up with the Ravens taking care of business, beating the Giants, and Washington winning. It looks like the Washington team could win the division, wrap it up, and believe it or not, maybe rest some people. The thing is Alex Smith gonna play? Doesn't look like he is, but is he, or is it gonna be Knucklehead Haskins? Mr. Strip Club himself.
I was just going to say, if they wrap it up, I know Dwayne will be looking forward to those post-game festivities.
Man, does a young – I can't remember a young man making more worse decisions, any moment. I mean, in any moment of his career. I don't get it, man. I don't get it.
Well, we'll just leave that one right there as it is.
Let it simmer.
Here on the State of Football, John, we got time for one more, a lot of playoff implication games on the line here. Of course, the Dolphins and Raiders. It sounds like Carr will get the start there. You mentioned the Titans at Packers earlier in the show. You got the Rams at Seahawks. Where do you want to go here?
Well, since he's not on with us, but I'm sure he's listening, and he's going to be hoping for one more Christmas present under his tree over the weekend. It's been 19 years since Bill Belichick lost to an AFC Eastern team and got swept. The Buffalo Bills have a chance to sweep the Patriots on their way to going 12-3, and now guaranteeing that you can't even go 500 this year without Tom Brady. Is there any Foxborough magic left, or do the Bills extinguish it completely? And as you mentioned, Miami wins, they're 10-5. Everybody else could be 11-5 or, in that mix. If you're the Bills, I think you're not taking the foot off the accelerator at this moment. You're probably not getting the number 1 seed, but you're going to have the number 2. And the interesting part of that could be deja vu, that version 3 could be a first-round playoff against the Dolphins.
Well, and they're playing Week 17, right?
And could be back-to-back.
Yeah, so the Dolphins will need to get in where the Bills will probably be wrestling.
Right. So I don't think if you're the Patriots, that you have enough in the tank, even if at some point you turn to Stidham, and you're giving some of these other younger guys a chance to play. Yeah, I think this season has just gone the way it's gone for Bill Belichick and, the Brady-less, crew there. And I think if you're Josh Allen and these guys, what you really want to keep seeing if you're the Bills, that increased pass rush where they're creating some extra turnovers, and all of a sudden the ground game, little by little, Zach Moss making his way there, getting 15, 18 carries a game and closing in on 80 to 90 yards, per game is really going to do a benefit for him. But here's the close encounter is you have this Patriot team now on the road, and then you're going to play the Dolphins, and then you could have a week 1 playoff game against the Dolphins. So if you're the Bills, you are literally going to be playing potentially three more straight games in your own division before you get rid of the AFC East and move on to bigger and badder teams, there. So is that good for them, or is that not enough preparation for the type of teams you'd be playing in round 2 and 3, doubling down and tripling down against the AFC East? So it could get real interesting, here or there. I think Ralph gets this one and gets to 12-3. And I think the Dolphins game is very interesting because it's at the Raiders, and Raiders minus Carr, but with Mariota, might give the Dolphins a little more trouble. As you saw last week, Gruden has.
Well, I'm hearing it. I'm hearing it might be Carr.
That Gruden offense looked a little different, with Mariota in there running for 70 yards. So that'll be an interesting, scenario there. And then I'm sounding the alarm. I'm gonna go Titans over Packers in that matchup for Sunday. So you might get one back on that one if you go Green Bay.
Yeah, I will. Well, I like the Titans, but I'm scrapping and clawing. By the way, did I give the updated standings here? We have an updated state of football standings. It only took me a couple weeks to catch up, and I'm still catching up in a way. But going into last week, I was 11 games behind. Thank you, Ryan Roberts, for your celebrity pick'em, dropping me 11 games down. I picked up 3 last week. So I'm now 8 games out. Remember now, playoffs are included. So the strategy is going to be chip away, get the deficit down. Chop, baby. The Jersey chop is coming. I'm going to pick up another 3 this week, another 3 next week. I'm going to cut the deficit within 2 or 3 going into the playoffs. I'm just letting you know. And the comeback season, we're not talking about Johnny Manziel and the FCF. No. We're talking about RIC and the pick'em standings. Comeback season is happening, and it begins this week. So John is 138 wins, 73. No, that was going into it. He's 144-80. I am 136-88. So we're gonna rub those Buffalo nickels together this week here, and we'll come back on Monday and see where we stand. I know Ralph will be grinning from ear to ear if John's prediction comes true, and I'm sure somewhere if the Bucs take care of business this week, Tom Brady will be grinning as well, just a little bit. And I'm really intrigued to see how that storyline unfolds because we talked about Jeff with Jeff Benedict in the Dynasty book. If Bill Belichick hangs around another couple seasons, and I think he's got to get a veteran quarterback. I don't think he has time to sit here and build around another new quarterback. I just don't think there's time left. And whether it's Matt Ryan or Jimmy Garoppolo comes back, I don't know. But what if Bill Belichick misses out on the playoffs the next 3 years, including this one? There's going to be a need for another book. And, maybe Tom Brady will be the co-author of that one. But, man, what a fun football weekend on the slate here to close out the 2020 year, which, is really just been disgusting. But with that being said, let's stay positive and go over to the parting shot. And it is the Christmas edition here on December 25th, 2020. Of course, Big Law, Lawrence Johnson, 7 City Shop Talk, Woo World Radio, NFL Draft Bible Tailgate Show, doing big things. And always a pleasure to have you here each and every Friday. No holidays off here on the State of Football, Big Law. And always appreciate you spending some time and chopping it up with us. What do you got here for the people parting shots today?
What I have to say in the parting shots is, hey, guys, this is the holiday season. Enjoy yourselves. Enjoy your traditions. One of mine is sitting back, watching The Christmas Story on TNT, play over and over and over again. That's one of my things. I love it. So I'm going to watch it, all day today as we open gifts, as we eat, whatever. It always stays on the TV. And that's something that I like to do. But
is that TBS? TBS?
It's either TBS or TNT, one of the two. That's right. And I just watch it over and over. And I just think that's a enjoy your family, guys. And like I said, make sure you take care of each other. Like you said, 2020 has been disgusting, but we're gonna make 2021 better. And this is gonna be a great year coming up that we'll be able to make things right and and to have a better outlook for our futures. But like I said, I got to thank Woo World Radio. I got to thank you, Rick, for bringing me in and allowing me to spread my wings a little bit and do some different things. But looking forward to what we got going on in the future. And Merry Christmas, everybody. Merry Christmas, and we'll be here for the new year. So sit tight. Big announcement coming. Let's go.
Yeah.
Load the bus.
Yes, sir. And it all started with a press box conversation.
Yeah, it did, didn't it? It's crazy.
So you never know. Another thing you miss on college football season, just the camaraderie of the folks that you do see on the road, and then meeting new folks such as Big Law. Had I not gone down to Virginia Old Dominion a couple of seasons ago to check that game out, Big Law wouldn't be here today. So we're appreciative of that Christmas Day, and John down there in New Orleans, of course, Hampton Roads in Virginia, Big Law out there. John down in New Orleans celebrating Christmas. What do you got for our listening audience here? By the way, our 105th edition of the State of Football.
Well, look, Big Law and I have, I guess, to look forward to, coming down pretty hard after partying on a Christmas afternoon. We'll have to get up tomorrow morning and listen to Dave mispronunciate names and listen to Ryan, not talk about Notre Dame for a week. That's what we get to wake up to tomorrow. But hey, it's great seeing all the things that we're going to be able to get going and be doing, and can't agree with you more. Can't wait to be able to actually get back to going to live action and seeing, some things. Hopefully next month opens up, a little bit for us. And, there's potentially 1 or 2 bowl games that are going to play as all-star games. will not be virtual. There may actually be some action, to watch, and we'll continue to see training camp, for the fan-controlled football league startup. So that'll be interesting. And hey, in about 30 minutes, there's going to be a little person who found out that, hey, they may or may not win. They may or may not have first place. But, hey, Saints, the fact that you looked out for your boy and got him 2 tickets for this afternoon, I got to give you kudos as an organization for looking out for your boy.
I can tell you one thing. If the Chanticleers win one more game, you're going to have to call me Big Law Rothstein. All right? That's how we're going to do it.
Well, you might just be lucky that we don't say tomorrow that we're going to have some Big Law nuggets instead of champagne nuggets. We might be.
There'll be some big nuggets.
Instead of roasting chestnuts, we might be roasting some Big Law nuts tomorrow.
That's one thing. And when Big Law puts in those media credentials for Liberty next year, there might not be.
I said I'll meet you in Charlottesville.
He go to the neutral site games next year.
Exactly.
Well, it's been a really fun ride here on the State of Football in our 105th show. Crazy to think. Christmas Day, we don't take any days off, and that's just kind of the work ethic and mentality that we're going to bring to the NFLDraftBible.com. Again, big announcement coming next week. I wish I had something motivational and exciting and exhilarating for you here today for my parting shot. I just don't. I mean, it's just what we do every day here on the State of Football. I'm just happy to be surrounded by my family here today. And then also the NFL Draft Bible Familia with everything that we have coming up and going on. So, both of my families, I am just really praying and hoping for big things in 2021. And one thing I can tell you is, we're going to do our best to deliver. And even if we're not the most talented, I always said that we're always going to outwork everybody. And so, there's a lot to be said there. So anybody out there, I guess, my message for today with dreams, aspirations, and goals. And I'm sure once we make our announcement next week, there's going to be plenty of folks that never heard of Draft Bible because we're taking it to the masses. There's going to be somebody that said, who the heck are these guys? Boy, aren't they lucky to be on that platform? And you know what? I'll tell you this. It had nothing to do with luck and everything to do with perseverance. Blood, sweat, and tears the past 20 years, and a lot of support from the family. So I can't wait to bring that to you next week. Hopefully, January 1st, 2021, we can ring in the new year with a big bang. That's the goal. That's what I'm hoping. And as soon as that new website is up and running at our new destination, we will bring that news to you live, raw, uncut, unfiltered, because that's what we do here on the State of Football. Weekdays, live, 9 a.m. Eastern. Big shout out to Big Law, Lawrence Johnson, co-host each and every day, John Murphy. And again, we'll be back at it again tomorrow